Yo people, so in this video I am going to prompt attention. This is not a party scene, and I'm sure some of you will be wondering, yo, if it's not a party scene, then what is it? My people, in Ghana, this is where the occasion of funerals have got to. So unfortunately, when somebody passes away, as per previous routine and rituals, and I'm sure people continue to do it depending on which part of the country you are. Usually on the Friday there is a session which is called wakekeeping, and that is where the person is actually taken out. People actually go and file past on the Saturday, which is believed to be the early days where the person is actually buried. After that, some people may choose that on the Sunday, that is where this happens. Okay, some people may call it the Gbonyo party, which means the dead party or the party of the dead. And I want to find out from this video whether in your country, if you are not a Ghanaian, whether you do the same. And I just wanted to raise the 5 main things these are the 5 strange things that happens during funerals. Maybe I'll say in some funerals in Ghana. Okay, so depending on the person's affluence, depending on society deemed the person, the person was of an old age, they had good standing in the community, in the society, and that sometimes, believe it or not, they hire people to come and cry. These people have got nothing to do with that particular person who is dead, but they hire people and pay them for them to come to the funeral and cry. You won't believe it.
Some people don't know how to cry. Some people don't know how to cry. My name is Amido Klee. I'm a funeral contractor. People came in to pick me to go to their funeral and cry for them. We are all widows. After our husbands died, so we decided to come together to help those who cannot cry. So if we are not there, it will not go on well with them. Some people, when they lost their relatives, they don't know how to talk and cry. Some funerals are big funerals. Some are normal. So whenever you invited us and we come in and we notice how big the funeral is how we charge. It's a normal thing. We'll all die one day.
Ask a Ghanaian whether it's true. All these things, you may say, oh, no, that's not true. I leave you, ask a Ghanaian. Find a Ghanaian and ask them whether it is true that there are people who are contracted to come to funerals to cry. I'm not in a position to judge, but ask a Ghanaian whether it is true that when people die, in some places, they do hire people, pay them money for them to actually come and cry at the funeral. And after that, they feed them and pay them for coming to do that. So that is one of the things. That is one of the strange things that happens in Ghanaian funerals. Yeah. As I said, it's not universal. It's not everywhere. But obviously, I am putting it across to you. Do you think it's necessary? Put in your comments. And whilst you're doing that, subscribe, like, and share with somebody. But when you see a Ghanaian, ask them whether that is true. Then let's go to the second one. The second one is, in some funerals, by the time they finish the whole funeral, the amount of money that they've spent, maybe the person who passed away has not got even half of that money that is being used for the funeral. You won't believe me, and that's what I said. The money that may be used for the funeral, for the whole life experience of whoever passed, they may never have come across that amount of money. But when the person passed, as is known in Ghana, as is known in Ghana, people will do whatever. They will go to every length to be able to raise money to bury the dead. What do you think is the relevance of it? Share your comments. Okay. So as I said, the second one is, no matter where the family, when the person passes, people will go all lengths to be able to raise money, to be able to bury the dead. And then after the burial, they have to find money to be able to go and pay the debt. So people actually go for loans, to bury their dead. You won't believe it. That is the reality. People go for loans to go and bury the dead. And after the dead, they work to pay for it. You won't believe it. What I am saying is, if you meet any Ghanaian, ask them whether it's true that when people die, is it true that people actually go for loans in order for them to be able to bury their dead? If you meet a Ghanaian, ask them whether that is true. And I'm telling you, it's true. And whilst you are continuing to look at the food and that, do you think these are savings that they just picked up? No. Members of the family, some of them go for loans in order for them to be able to contribute, to be able to see the departed off. And that is loans that they would be able to use to feed, to take care of their guests and all those things. And after the funeral, they will sort themselves out.
I know the third one. People may basically not believe me. This is somebody actually going to be buried in whatever it was deemed to be the most appropriate casket. So in Ghana, depending on maybe your interest, the kind of job you did, the kind of, what you did, your affiliations and all that. These are people actually lying in their own caskets. There is also the trend where people are actually laid in state doing something that they used to do. So people can be stood, it is a very interesting way of actually mourning the dead. And all these things that you are seeing are actually caskets, So if you are, let's say you were a pilot, you actually going to have a casket that represents what you were doing. Maybe this is somebody who loved Coca-Cola. Share your thoughts. I know some of you wouldn't believe it, but this is the reality. I don't know what the person was doing, whether he used to work with birds. I don't know whether this person was an academician. I don't know, but this is the reality. This has been a trend in Ghana for a while now. And I would want you to share your view in regards to, funeral, whether it is the same thing in your country. And let's know whether, whether we need to be going to these extents when it comes to actually, saying our goodbyes to our dear beloved. I know people may be saying, Nana, you are naughty, thinking about the question of if the person was a gynecologist, what kind of casket is the person going to have? Please, people, we are going to be learning, but let's have a little bit of banter as well. So this is trainers. I don't know whether the person was a model. I don't know, but let's answer the question. Do we need to be doing these things? Anyway, remember to like, subscribe, and share with somebody else, because this is Ghana. So I believe this was a farmer, I believe this was an academician, somebody who worked in schools. I don't know. What is your view? And as I said, this is somebody actually laid in state. And this is continuing to do to be one of the new trends in Ghana. And whether you believe it or not, these are funeral scenes that people may never want to believe, that this is how some people choose to say their goodbyes to their dear beloved. So people, let me know whether it's the same in your country. Wait for the fourth one.
What do you think is the fourth one? If you are a Ghanaian, what do you think is the fourth strange things that ever happen in funerals? What do you think will be your fourth, strange thing that you've ever observed happening in funerals? I will say the fifth one. The fifth one is, in some spaces or in some communities, the land on which that they actually buy or on which that they actually bury that dead person can be more expensive than possibly where the person lived. You may say, oh, no, that's not true. I am telling you. Yeah. You may think that, look, there are some of these places that when they bury their dead there, they have to continue to pay to be able to keep the person, who is dead. They have to maintain that area. And you may be saying, no, that's not true. Look, ask and they will tell you. So the fifth thing is, some places where people choose to bury their dead, when these places are deemed to be the affluent, they have to actually build, a casket. How do they call it? Like a monument. And this monument is actually maintained. You can even see people build like mini houses to keep the dead in there. You won't believe me. People what I am saying to you is, if you see a Ghanaian, ask them all these questions. And if you are a Ghanaian, let me know whether you think that is true. What I've shared with you today is true or otherwise. Let me know. And if you think it is, let me know whether you think this is necessary. People, I'm not in a position to say to you, stop. Obviously, if you've got the money and that's how you want to spend it, that's your decision. But do you think it's about time people become more discreet in regards to how they spend their money during funerals? People will say to you, the person is an elderly person, you know, also it means you have to, I don't know, what's the English word for that? If you're a Ghanaian, put it in the comment section. How do you say also in English? I don't know. English is not my language. But people, this is the reality of what happens in my community. You won't believe it. But if you see a Ghanaian, if you are not a Ghanaian, they will tell you. Just find out whether that is true. But if you are a Ghanaian, tell me the fourth strange thing that you've ever observed in a funeral. Remember, subscribe if you haven't, like the video, and share with somebody. Let's have a discussion. You know, let's look at the amount of food that is being served. I don't know if you are a person of a bit of older age. Was this how it used to be when people pass away or people pass on and we are trying to mourn, you know, the dead? Then it's now become a party. You know, it has now become a party. And unfortunately, if you haven't got the means to be able to, you know, feed people, your funeral is deemed not to be, you know, you've not been able to grace or you've not been able to show the expected respect to the departed. My people, my Ghanaian brothers and sisters, you know, I just wanted to, you know, raise this video, you know, let's find out. Is this the norm? Have we gotten to the point? Somebody may say, oh, Nana, it's because you haven't got money. I'm not going to argue on that. But do we think we need to be investing whatever has been left or whatever we have to bury, you know, our dear beloved? But rather we choose to make it a party session. What's your view? Do you think funerals needs to tend to be a party session? I'm not by any means saying that because people come from far and wide, there shouldn't be some kind of, you know, refreshment to be able to look after them. But when you look at this video, is there any sense of, you know, people feeling sad? Is there any sense of people? Funeral has become a new business. It has all, you know, it has been a kind of avenue where people show off in terms of their wealth and their ability to feed and also show, you know, this is where people actually come and show off their wealth in terms of what? All the different cuisines that you can have. Anybody within the hospitality industry who cook and all that. I'm not in this video to, you know, throw shade on your business that you do. No, that is your business. And if that is what people want, by all means, you know, yes, serve them, give it to them if that's what they want. But I just wanted to, you know, prompt, you know, let's definitely be a little bit realistic. Unfortunately, the person is gone. There needs to be the need to look after whatever the person left behind. But the question that I want to ask in this video is, why do we need to be spending this amount of money just to be able to, I don't know whether it is just to be able to, you know, go with a social expectation that, oh yeah, we had all these things at the funeral. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Just look at what is going on. Just look at what is going on. Do you think this scene looks like a funeral for you? Do you think there is anything about funeral going on in this video for you? If you are in another country, let me know whether, you know, I know in Zimbabwe, and please my people in Zimbabwe, correct me if I'm wrong. In Zimbabwe, you don't actually, you know, keep the body. You don't, you don't keep the body for a very long time in fridge. I think it's the next day. In Ghana, this person who is passed away can be with a mortuary for, you know, sometimes a year and over, maybe years. I don't know. Somebody can please correct us. But this is the situation. We spend money on keeping the person in the fridge for a period of time, and that's the first cost. And after there is a decision made as to when the person is going to be buried. There is going to be the wakekeeping, and that is going to be the Friday weekend. There is going to be the funeral, the burial service that is actually happening on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, this is where all this, I don't know whether to call it merry or celebration goes on. And when this is going on, my people, you can get all sorts of cuisines. You can get all sorts. So anything that you've never tasted before, I promise you, when you go to some of these funerals, that is where you can get, all these things to be able to drink, taste, and all that. People do say the more you give out, as in the more hospitable you are, the more people give you money in donation. In my country, that is Ghana, when you go to funeral, you have to give a donation. But the question that we need to be asking is, if you are spending all this by feeding the people who are coming, how much donation are they going to give you? I don't know. Somebody may say, Nana, you don't know what you're talking about. And I respect that. But I want to be able to understand, do we think going forward, when a person passes, do we think we need to be spending all these monies to feed people who have come for the funeral? Or on the other hand, do we think maybe we can find a way of, fending for whoever, our visitors and all that, by making them a little bit comfortable and seeing them off? Obviously, they didn't come for a party, but we have actually turned the funeral. It was used, or it's meant to be a funeral, but rather it is now turned into a party where people actually come. And if you look at the dance that actually goes on, if you see the way people dance during the funeral, and I don't know whether people have actually seen, I don't know whether it's called casket bearers people, I don't know. It's been a while since I had a funeral close to me, and I don't want anyone now, but yeah, people, it's been a while since I had anything like that. But if you see, you have to pay for port bearers, okay? You have to actually pay for whoever is passed to be buried in a very affluent space. And we are asking ourselves, let's just imagine somebody gets buried. Okay, so I can only talk about Ghana. Somebody gets buried in East Legon, and the other person gets buried, in another place. And you ask yourself, why do we need to be throwing this money to people who have passed? And the question that always used to be asked is, why don't we use that money to actually build ourselves, to develop ourselves, to create businesses? Because we never are able to find money to be able to develop businesses. But immediately people pass away, we are able to come together. Wherever we go, we are able to find the money to be able to come together, to put together a funeral. And after the funeral, there is usually a debt to be paid. And that is where people need to be asking themselves, what is the benefit of that? What is the benefit of that? And if you are not careful, people start to fight over whatever is left behind. People, I can only raise questions. My name is Nana SA. I enjoy these kind of discussions. Share your thoughts. Do you think the funeral scene in Ghana is getting way out of hand? And I think, let's have these very open and honest conversation. If you have a funeral, if you should have a funeral, do you think you would be able to say to whoever the elders, whoever, wants to make those decisions, to say that, what, we want to be a little bit, guarded in how we spend? Let me know your thoughts, and let us have that discussion, whether we think, it's about time we have these very honest discussions amongst ourselves, and not throw money around, because that is going to be a way of people seeing us to be affluent. After the person is gone, what's the point of spending all those monies? What's the point of spending all those monies to even buy spaces where these same people are buried at? I'm not saying that we don't need to give them befitting burials, but why do we spend, big chunks of money to bury people, to even build monuments? And sometimes it can be a little bit, over the top. What's your thoughts? Share your view, and let's definitely have you join this channel. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, people, We talk about black experiences. Let me know whether you do this in your country. How do you bury people in your country? And after you've done a burial, do you do any celebration? Let's know how you do it. Okay? Let's know how you do it. And let's see whether Ghanaians are possibly wasting their little resources that they have. People, remember, subscribe if you haven't, like the video, and share with somebody. I'll see you in the next video. Boom.